Hi, welcome to Salt City Knits. I'm Emily, and this is a podcast all about my making life. And today I'm excited to have some finished objects, works in progress, book chatter, and some shop news at the end. So it's going to be a great episode and probably a little longer than my last one, which was quite short. I'm excited to be here with you today. It's been an amazing weekend. We had the 4th of July here in the US, and well, you had the 4th of July everywhere. We had Independence Day here in the US, and just had a really lovely time with that. I think today we'll start off with a little bit of a life update, and then we'll go into finished objects. Then we'll talk about works in progress, some upcoming knitting plans, a little bit about books, and we'll end with some shop news. So first of all, you can find me pretty much everywhere as Salt City Knits or as Yarnbrary, and all of my contact information is in the description box of this video. So you can find all the links to my shop, my Ravelry, all of that there. All right, so let's talk about the 4th of July. It was the perfect 4th of July for me, and I'll tell you why. First of all, we had a little bit of a cooler weather day, meaning that I think the high was maybe 86 that day, and we got rain at least twice during the day. A lot of people would not say that is their best, but I loved that. Also, we every year we do a neighborhood pancake breakfast, and we help put that on. Primarily, my husband does a lot of volunteering there. We utilize some of the like infrastructure that we have, such as like big shade canopies and sound system and things like that, to help with the breakfast, as well as a couple of Blackstone grills and things like that. So Richard goes pretty early and does a lot of the setup and things like that. Abby helped him this year. And but all my kids came, obviously, except for Isaac, who is still in Texas. They all came to the breakfast. My son-in-law, he stayed home. Aria and Michael were hosting a party later that day, and so he kind of stayed home to do some of the prep. But I got to see Ethan and Tannen and Aria, and Abby was there. My niece came, and my cute little grandson, Adam. And we had fun at the breakfast, and then came back over to the house and hung out for a little bit. The girls got this idea in their head that they wanted to paint their legs. It's like face painting, but for your legs. Okay, I have never heard that that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing. So that was pretty cool. And they just decorated, they did flags and stars and stripes and fireworks, and wrote things like freedom and 1776 and the 4th of July, and, you know, just stuff like that on their legs. And that was really fun. And later they painted Tannins as well. And I ended up with a firework, and I think it said 4th of July, or no, USA on my foot. So that was as much as I was willing to commit, but it was really fun. And we played some games and stuff and had lunch. And then about right after lunchtime, everybody headed off, and Aria and Adam went home for Adam's nap and for them to get ready for a party they were hosting that night. Abby went and picked up friends, and they also went to the party at Aria's house, and Ethan and Tannen went to go spend time with her parents. And Richard and I were invited to go and do some of these things, but we just wanted to stay home, and it was great. We didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to go anywhere. I think he and I were both kind of worn out from just working a lot lately, and we just needed some at-home time, and it was delightful. We watched, I think, 4 episodes of American Ride. I don't know if you've ever heard of American Ride, but it's actually made by BYU TV, and it's like a history show. It's a series, And it goes through starting kind of founding of America and up. And the man who was the host, Stan Ellsworth, he's like a big biker dude, and he rides on his motorcycle and goes across the country and sees places and talks about it. And it's pretty fun. So we went back and watched, I think it was 4 episodes of that. And other than that, we just made dinner and relaxed, and Richard went to bed early. I waited up late for Abby, but it was just a really relaxed 4th of July. And even though the kids all came over, I didn't like have to kind of host, if that makes sense. We used to put on a big party every year for the 4th of July, and I just got so worn out doing it. And I think my husband even more got worn out, because after he goes and works and helps to put that breakfast on, then he would have to come home and do a lot of more kind of manual labor to get ready for our big party. And we're just kind of tired. So maybe it'll come back, but right now it's not. The reason I was so grateful for the rain is that here in Utah, we live in a desert. And we have had quite a bit of drought conditions going on this year. And some of our very best friends, their house burned down. It's been 8 years ago on the 4th of July because of somebody else's fireworks, neighbors' fireworks. And I am just not a big fan of a lot of the fireworks. I like a professional fireworks show, but all the ones that people set off themselves there's just so much damage and injury, and it's just not my thing. And so I was very grateful that we got so much rain, because I feel like that probably reduced the number of people who were doing fireworks, though you couldn't tell by the noise happening in our neighborhood. But B, it just soaked everything before, and I felt a little bit more relaxed about that. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody who loves fireworks. That's fine. That's just my thing. I don't understand why, when we live in a desert and we deal with so many issues with fires, why we're still doing aerial fireworks, personal aerial fireworks. I don't get it. Not my thing. So anyway, I was really grateful for the rain, and we had a lovely time. All right, let's see. Speaking of rain, Isaac is in San Antonio, and I know that many of you have probably seen the horrible flooding that is happening in Texas right now. Specifically, I think it's Kerr Canyon. I'm sure I'm saying the wrong name. It's the Guadalupe River, and it's just been, there's some horrible tragedies. And while I am heartbroken and praying for all the people affected by that, I am also grateful to know that Isaac is not in that exact area. Even though it's near San Antonio, it's farther out. I'm sure he's affected, and I'll be talking to him tomorrow and getting some more details, but he's not in danger in any way. So that has been a little bit of a relief off my heart, but also it's just heartbreaking. So definitely our prayers are going out to everybody affected, especially all the little girls. If you haven't seen that, there was a girls' camp that was affected, and a little troop of girls that were lost, and it's just heartbreaking. So yes, all my prayers for those affected by those fires, or those floods, I mean. I am excited to talk to Isaac tomorrow and see just how they're doing, if they are getting, like, what the weather's been like for them, if they've had any issues where they are, or if they've known of anybody who has been affected by the floods. So I'll talk to him tomorrow. All right, a little bit of an update on my health journey. I have lost 29.5, not 30, 29.5 pounds. I feel like the last 2 pounds, like usually what happens with my weight is it kind of is like up and down, up and down, up and down, and then a big drop, and then it comes back up, but not quite as high as it was before. So up and down here, then a drop, and then it comes back up to like here, and then up and down, and then a drop, and then back up to here. And that's what it's been doing. Well, this one has just been like, like the tiniest little increments working their way down, but still working its way down. Very happy about that. I really am hoping, and we'll see what happens. I'm okay with whatever progress is happening. This is a long-term thing, but it would be really neat if I could hit that 40-pound down mark by the time of our big event at the end of August. That's what we call it, Summit. That would be so great. I would just love that. And so we'll see what happens. But whatever it is, I'm still almost 30 pounds down from where I started just 15 weeks ago. So grateful for that. I think that's pretty much everything life update wise. Richard and I went for a drive up into Little Cottonwood Canyon, which is where there's two big ski resorts. And I'm trying to remember, I think it's Alta and Snowbird. I think that's what it is. Snowbird and Alta. I always get confused between Snowbird and Solitude. I'm pretty sure it's Snowbird. Anyway, are two of the ski resorts that are up there. And so there's some hotels and things like that. But mostly we just went for the drive. And it was just a lovely day. We had another very nice, relaxing day yesterday. I'm going to be all recuperated and ready for the hit Monday with full force because I've had such a nice, relaxing weekend. And I'm so grateful. All right, let's talk about finished objects. So first off, I finished my socks. And I think they turned out so fun, so great. These are on blockers, but not blocked. I probably won't worry about blocking them. I don't always block my socks. And when it's a vanilla sock like this, I don't usually. I knit this out of Candy Shop Yarns. The body is out of Candy Shop Yarns. I believe the color is Snowdrop, but regardless, it's from her Bloom collection. And then I just had this mini that I'm not sure where it came from that I thought went really nicely with it. Now, here was the sad thing. I remember showing you that I had my Bon Bon Minis set that is the Bloom collection. I had to break into this because I ran out of this main color of yarn about right here. So now my Bon Bon Minis set is only 4 of the 5 colors. But I have this much left over, so I'm sticking it in there. And I'm going to make something with those at some point. It's just such a pretty little set. Those are 10-gram minis. So the entire set was originally 50 grams. It's probably 47 now. So I could make socks with that if I added in some additional yarn or if I made shorties. But back to these socks, I used a ChowGoo 2.25 millimeter on a 40-inch cable to do magic loop. And I did 2x2 rib for 20 rounds, 65 rounds for the leg. Oh, and this is a 64 stitch count. Did my heel flap and gusset. And then I knit 50 rounds from the end of my gusset decreases to the color change. Then I knit 10 rounds, or did I do 13 rounds? How many did I do? I think I did 13 rounds of plain stockinette in the new color before beginning my decreases for the toe. And I just do a rounded wedge toe. And these are going to go in my gift knits pile, which is starting to get out of hand, let's be honest. It's time for me to start giving more of the things in the gift knits pile. So they turned out great. And these were really fun. Just nice, relaxing knitting to enjoy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about them that I wanted to say. You can tell this sock is the one that was knit all with the one skein. And you can tell right here, oh, so I guess it was right here that I changed colors because you can see that the speckles are slightly closer together. So that's where I changed skeins. I don't think there's really anything else to say about those. They were a lot of fun and I really enjoyed them. All right, next up, I finished my wrap, and you guys, it worked. So here is the finished wrap, inspired by the Windseeker Stola. And it is amazing. The fabric is lighter than air. It's so breezy. It's got kind of a nautical beachy feel to it, I feel like. It's so lovely. I can say, oh, I got that caught on my Swift. When you hold it up, you can see the tiniest bend there and the tiniest bend there. I'm fine with that because nobody displays this held straight out. It's going to be worn. The corners blocked out very nicely on both ends. Sorry, I'm trying to see how I can show them well. I just think it turned out amazing. I'm picturing this as a beautiful, you can wear this as a scarf. Just a nice long scarf wrapped around or draped over your shoulders. It's just so pretty. I am 5'10", 5'9", 5'9", 5'10", depends on the day. And when I wear it draped over my shoulders, this hangs almost to my knees. And I'm tall, so just to give you an idea, it is plenty long. Oh, but isn't it just so pretty? This is a gift for somebody special, and I think they're just gonna love it. So I'm very excited to give it to the special recipient coming up here in a little bit. I think it just turned out amazing. So I'm very happy with it. I have seen my friend's stole where she knit it directly to the pattern. She did the increases the way the pattern wrote, and she also did her I-cord as applied I-cord at the end. So her I-cord is the same color all the way around, which is really beautiful. But I'm also really happy with this color changing I-cord as well. I feel like it worked beautifully. And I was stressed about the tidiness of the stitches and the edges pretty much the whole time I was knitting it, because I was doubting the magic of blocking. But the magic of blocking is real, and it turned out so good. So I'm very, very happy with this. I've talked about the yarn and everything before for several episodes, so I'm not going to go over that all again now, but it is just dreamy 100% alpaca lace weight. And it's soft, it's drapey, and like I said, it's just as light as air. This entire thing weighs under 150 grams, and you saw how big it is. Let's see what the weight is. Come on, there we go. 113 grams, and you saw how big that is. So yeah, just as light as can be. It's just lovely. I am very happy with how that turned out. I don't know if I would knit it again, I'll be honest. It just was a lot of knitting. And I tend to be somebody, I mean, I don't have a problem with lots of knitting, but it's a lot of stockinette knitting. Just a lot of stockinette knitting. So it was a lot for me. But it is really designed, and the purpose of it is to let that yarn just take the center stage. And I feel like it does the perfect job at that. So it's a huge success. All right, so on Wednesday of last week, we had knit night, and Deborah, my sister Deborah, got this fun idea to do a black light knit night with neon yarn. And so it was only for part of the night. Most of the time we had the lights on and everything, but we all, or many of us, brought neon, like UV light reactive yarns, so that we could knit and see them turn up in the black light.
What we're doing here. We're just seeing what's glowing. Your stitch marker is glowing. We should see a competition for the brightest smile.
It won't be mine.
Mine goes yellow.
So this goes really well, but what about this?
Whoa!
Isn't that good?
That's so bright.
Yes.
Yours is a little glowy.
A little bit.
Oh, but the chicken.
The chicken's
The
glowing.
chicken. And your shirt was glowing. You can see it.
These are all candy shop. Candy shop, candy shop, candy shop.
Oh, even your socks.
On fire.
Ooh, and your earrings. Oh, I didn't get mine. Mine's on the floor in a pile.
So there's a very cute
Gotcha.
stitch marker.
And your nails.
And my nails. I know. This is so fun.
Ooh, that is bright.
Here's my little stitch marker.
This is that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Claire or Nadia just made those today.
So I had actually won this set of yarn last year during summer sock camp. And the brand is Always Be Kind yarn. Here is my mini. Look how bright that is. And this is also sparkle. And I think the colorway is also called Always Be Kind. Yep. Yeah, it is. Here is the main color. And then the contrast mini. So definitely neon. And so I cast on a pair of ribbed socks, and I used that neon yellow for some stripes in the leg. So I'm knitting these. I did a cuff in 2x2 rib, and now I am knitting the body in 3x1 ribbing. And it was really fun to do this. It was very light reactive, and especially this color. It literally glowed like it was casting light on the things around it. It was so fun. Wendy, who is from the Granny Pan podcast, she and Becky, Wendy and Becky from Granny Pan podcast, they both had really great glow in the dark stuff. Deborah had glow in the dark. Who else did? Several people did, but my mind has gone completely blank. Marilyn did. I did. And on top of that, my niece Nadia made us all glow in the dark stitch markers. This was the one that I picked, and I just think it's so fun. It looks like a little planet. And it's just this fun, and it just glowed really bright. So that was pretty interesting. We all decided it's not something we will do regularly because we're all kind of like, oh, I can't really see. But it was super fun to just see what glowed. And it wasn't just like also what people wore that glowed. And so anyway, it was just a fun little experiment, and we sure enjoyed that. So I'm just working away on my very neon, very bright sock and having a good time with that. I've got this in a fun little 4th of July bag I made a couple years ago. All right, I'm very excited to share my progress on my Diamonds and Rust lace shawl designed by Anna Victoria. I showed the beginnings of this last time, but I have gotten a lot done. So this is where I am now. I have just started into the border. Now the border is extensive, so we're not very far in, but you can see all the beads on this border. And of course, this is going to grow dramatically once it's blocked. It will be probably at least 50% larger. But it's all over beading. All these little pink spots are these glass beads. And these are 8.0 check glass beads. Check seed beads. And they are, they're just from Michael's craft store. They're crystal red lined, which means they're clear and they have a little red core, but that red core comes across very rosy pink. So here's my container that I've poured the beads into, and apparently one poured out of. And I mentioned before that I'm using this tiny little crochet hook to apply the beads, and I had a couple questions about that. So the way I go about it, I'll load up about 6 beads at a time on that crochet hook. But then what happens is you knit until you get to the stitch you're going to bead. Before you work that stitch, you pull the stitch off the needle and use your hook to pull the stitch through the bead and the bead onto the stitch. So where a stitch might look, it's got each of our stitches is basically like a loop like that, right? And then they come up and do this. The bead sits around the stitch like this. There's no way I could show you this with what I'm working with because it's quite tiny. So I'm trying to illustrate it. So the bead slides over the stitch and sits around it, and then you knit that stitch. Occasionally, patterns will call for you to knit the stitch and then to transfer it back to the left needle and then to bead it. So it just depends. But in this case, we're beading, then working the stitch. So on my chart, I have little colored squares on my knitting chart. The stitches are just colored like they would be for color work. And that color code means that I bead that stitch and then I knit it. And so I'll just work along in my lace pattern until I get to the stitch I'm supposed to bead. And then I use my hook to pull it off the needle and pull that stitch through the bead, put it back on the needle, and then knit it. So it is quite, it's a time-consuming process, but I just get in a rhythm and I just get going and I'm loving it. I like how this kind of center motif is going down the middle of the center. The center motif is going down the center. And it's just turning out so pretty. It's so fun. I have done a few beaded projects before this, probably 5 or 6 beaded projects before this. This is definitely the smallest gauge of beads I have used in a project, and it's the most beading I have done. It is not the last. I love this. It is so much fun for me. I know for a lot of people, it would not be fun. It's so much fun for me. I love how we're all so different. Like some people it's like, what is it that you really get out of your knitting, And I love a finished product, but I also am definitely a process knitter. And so the process of this is engaging, interesting, keeps my attention. It's more-ish, meaning I want to do more, I want to do more, I want to do more. It feels so satisfying to look at how far I've come. I love seeing the way the lace emerges and the way the beading is kind of outlining the lace. I love this yarn. This base is my 80-20 lace base. I have not named it yet, but it's an 80% merino and 20% silk base with 870 yards to 100 grams. And there's so much yardage in here. It's quite astonishing. This colorway is the Lake House. It's from my Beach Reeds collection. And I just dyed it for myself on this beautiful 2-ply lace weight. Pretty much all of Anna Victoria's patterns are sampled with ombre yarns. And I just kept drooling over those. So I actually ordered a skein of ombre lace weight yarn, but it's coming from Australia. So I'm not exactly sure when it's going to get here. I'll definitely show you. But I want to also knit her Shield Maiden pattern. This again is the Diamonds and Rust lace shawl, and the Shield Maiden pattern, here is what the sample looks like. And I just think it's really beautiful, but also in Heroic Youth, we have a youth leader role called Shield Maidens. And so it's just kind of a fun Heroic Youth feel to it as well. And I know a lot of girls would think that was really cool too. And I don't know, it just is really fun. So I am going to plan on that one. All right, so that one I'll just keep going. I can't believe how much, by the way, I have gotten done in a week on that. Especially considering that also within that week, I finished my wrap, finished these socks, and got that far on another pair of socks. Just done a lot, but it's been great. All right, so coming up next, I am going to be knitting a shawl with this yarn. This is Yarn Cafe Creation, and it's a one-of-a-kind colorway. She actually, well, she had it listed as one of a kind, but it was actually 6 of a kind, which I purchased a couple of years ago, and I knit myself a cardigan out of this yarn. And it's just so good as a Christmassy colorway. And I wanted to do something fun for Christmas in July. And so I'm going to cast on a single skein project. I have not yet decided what project I'm going to do. I might knit my Layton shawl again. The Layton shawl, by the way, is very robustly being test knit right now. I have got a ton of amazing test knitters working on that, and several of them have already finished, and it's a very quick, fun project. So that pattern is going to be coming up soon, but I might do something else. I don't know. I haven't decided, but I want to knit a one skein project because I think a one skein shawl is so great for Christmas time when you want to wear something, you know, a shawl or even a scarf. I think all the one skein projects I'm thinking of are really kind of more scarf-like, where you're going to just wrap them around your neck. And so I think that would be really fun for around Christmas time and be an excellent gift. And so that is coming up here. I'm gonna twist, or excuse me, cake this up as soon as I finish recording and do something fun with that. So if you have any recommendations of things you'd like to see, either a pattern that you love for a one skein project or a request for a one skein project design, I'm all ears. So definitely share that with me in the description box below. But isn't that just fun? So pretty. And the only sad thing about this is that the cardigan that I knit myself, I've just never liked it. I've really never, I mean, I've worn it a couple of times, but it just never quite, I didn't really love the way that the shoulders ended up fitting. It's the right size, but just not the right shape, if that makes sense. And it feels kind of too boxy, and I just don't love it. And I'm probably going to reclaim the yarn because I love the yarn. So I'm probably going to reclaim the yarn from that project. Anyway, so fun. So that's coming up next. All right, where's my notes? Let's talk about books. I remember last episode I said I am just having a really hard time getting into my book, which the book was, it's The Exiles, right? Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm second guessing. Yes, The Exiles by Jane Harper. I just was second guessing the order that those books came in. But yeah, that's it. And I was just like, I'll probably just hit a point where I just get into it and I just, go crazy and read it really fast, which is exactly what happened. Probably the next day, I went back to it and then immediately was like, oh yeah, I remember why I love this book, but I also couldn't remember like the whodunit of the book. And I just zipped right through it and had so much fun and really, really enjoyed it. So I really enjoy Jane Harper books. I've read 4 of her books this year, all of which are rereads, and just thoroughly enjoyed them. So this series, The Exiles, is the 3rd in the series that starts with The Dry. So the first is The Dry, second is Forces of Nature, and then third is The Exiles, all of which are the Aaron Falk series. He's the main character in those. I also read The Survivors, which was one of the books that I read for my beach reads collection, and I reread that this year and really enjoyed that one as well. That one's a standalone. So I'm a big fan. She has one other book of hers that I have not read. And so I need to get that on hold at the library and read that one. But in the meantime, when we were at Knit Night, we were talking to our friend Amy. Okay, and I'm just going to say right now, if you are not already following on Instagram, Sunlit Pages, I'll just put that right here. Amy at Sunlit Pages, you need to follow her. She is such a talented knitter and she is superb at fit. And she just did the most amazing project, which she has put together highlights, stories, and she's put together a highlight reel of her stories all about this project, where she took the cardigan from the Anne of Green Gables series, one that Megan Follows wears, and she reverse engineered it and she knit a copy of that cardigan, and also sewed a skirt to go with it before she and her husband went on a trip to Prince Edward Island, and she got to take photos of it there. And it's so good. It's so good. So she is a great friend and a fantastic knitter, and I highly recommend that you go and follow her to see her projects. So as she was talking all about the Anne series, I had to make a confession. Despite the fact that I am a huge fan of Anne of Green Gables, I have actually never read the rest of the series. Don't yell at me. I have had this weird thing about it where I have loved that book so much as a standalone since I was probably 10 years old, I think is when I read it the first time. And I loved it so much that I've had like this little fear of something else kind of ruining that, like reading more books and then it somehow taking away from that first book. Well, I have realized what a foolish girl I am. And so I am going to be reading that series. I just started Anne of Green Gables, the first book in this series, and I will be reading all of that series this year. So that's my confession. My girls have read all the series, especially, at least I know Abby has. I think Aria has as well. But I know Abby's read and reread all of those books many times, and they are her absolute favorites. So she's happy that I'm finally giving in and doing it. I have another book that I'm like that with, which is These Is My Words by Nancy E. Turner. It's one of my very favorites. And there are, I think, 2 other books. And I have never read those because I don't want it to mess with These Is My Words in my brain. I don't want it to take away in any way from this book that I feel like is perfectly complete as it is. And so anyway, I'm a funny duck that way. But that's what's coming up for me is reading the Anne series. And I'm sure I'll have other books along the way mixed in with that, but I will be working on that. All right, so we are to the point where let's talk about some shop news. I have a lot of the same things that I've already talked about before, my Beach Reads collection, and our Christmas boxes are all available. Christmas boxes are not on my website. They are only in the link in the description box below, or you can send me a message asking for a link to be sent to you directly. In addition to that, the July, first of all, the June installment of the Shire, if you have not opened your package yet for that, you're going to want to look away. So close your eyes, don't look. All right, here is the June installment of the Shire. And this is called Rosie Cotton Dancing. Rosie Cotton is Sam's future wife, Sam Gamgee's future wife, and he just thinks about her quite a bit as he's going throughout his journeys with the ring with Frodo. So this is Rosie Cotton Dancing. And okay, that picture is gone now. You can look back. And the inspiration for July is Gandalf's fireworks. And we all know, if you are a Lord of the Rings fan anyway, that Gandalf was not really well liked in the Shire. He was seen as too much of a mischievous troublemaker kind of sort. And when he showed up, people tended to have adventures, which is not a good thing. However, the inhabitants of the Shire, and Hobbiton specifically, were very tolerant of him when he had his fireworks there. So the theme for July's installment of the Shire is Gandalf's fireworks, and it is available as a sock set on Biography Sock, which is 85% extra fine superwash merino and 15% nylon, or on Classic DK, which is 75-25 merino nylon. Also, to celebrate Christmas in July, I am having a pattern sale this month. And so all through the month of July, you can buy 2 patterns and get 1 free. This is only good on Ravelry. And the way that you redeem that is you just have to put 3 patterns in your cart and it will automatically give you one of those patterns for free. So it's really easy to use. Again, only available on Ravelry, but it's the perfect way to get socks or shawls or scarves or hats started for your Christmas knitting, or just something that you want for yourself. So enjoy that as well. And that, like I said, will go through the end of July. I think that's everything that I had today. So thank you so much for joining me. Next time when I come back, I may have my beaded shawl done. I might have my gradient yarn here that I can show you to start my next beaded shawl. And I will probably be announcing the publication date for the Layton shawl as well. So I look forward to seeing you then. And until I see you, I hope you have so much fun with all of your making. Bye-bye.